Do you want to wait a few minutes or do you want to get started right at 6:30?
I'm good.
Dr. Lee?
Oh, I'm fine. I think the session is going to be recorded anyway. I think we have a good number of students participating tonight.
Okay, we'll let these last few as they enter in. So I'm Dawn Tatum. I'm the Director of CCSE Partnerships and Engagements here in the College of Computing and Software Engineering, and I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for bringing us this speaker series, Careers in IT. And I will remind the students that the session is being recorded. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat or raise your hand. And we'll be moderating that and address those at the end of the session. So thank you so much, and I will turn the session over now to Dr. Lee to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Dawn. My name is Lei Li. I'm the interim chair for the Department of IT, and it is my great pleasure to introduce the speaker for this evening, Mr. Tanvir Rahmn, the Vice President of Data Engineering and Analytics at my eye doctor. Mr. Tanvir is a strategic and hands-on technology leader who emphasizing data-driven culture for the best customer experience and continuous business growth. Has a proven track record in building high-performing data teams and establishing robust data supply chain, producing premium quality data. Mr. Rahmn is also recognized for delivering innovative solution, adopting cutting-edge technology and automation combined with industry best practices and data security. So in today's session, Mr. Rahmn will share his wisdom and experience about his career development and talk about a day of his life in his work at his current role. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Mr. Rahmn.
Thank you, Lee. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you, everyone. First of all, I'm very honored to be here. I have been at Southern Polytechnic University, now it's Kennesaw. Did my undergrad and bachelor's, undergrad in computer science, and then master's, MBA, and then master's in IT. A little bit about me, about my career. So I've joined my eye doctor as VP of Data Engineering and Analytics. I'm fairly new to the organization. It was around December when I joined, but not new in the data space. Currently looking at the strength and opportunities of the team and the organizations through doing SWOT analysis to develop the strategy for the next 5 years for the data team, primarily focusing on people, process, and data. Prior to this, I have worked at Aspen for 8 years. My title was Senior Director of BI, but I was the head of BI and data, and I have been part of contributing team to Aspen's valuation growth from 700 million to 7 billion, and from 400 clinics to 1,000 plus clinic. During this time, I have developed the enterprise data and analytics strategy and roadmap aligned to Aspen visions and successfully executed each one in the roadmap on time and within budget. I've had the opportunity to build a data team from ground up there and embark into the journey of AI and machine learning. My contribution at Aspen helped me receive Aspen's Wisdom to the Word and also the 2021 US Future Edge Awards. Before Aspen, I was with BravePoint, where I consulted on numerous high-profile projects for Fortune 500 companies like AT&T, Dell, and government institutions like Virginia Department of Education, as well as Virginia Community College, just to name a few. I am very passionate about data, and therefore I wanted to develop talents in and outside Aspen. So I taught data-related courses at Lemoyne, and I was also in the industry advisory board. In my 15 plus years of experience, I have performed duties and responsibilities in almost all the data or critical data roles, like as a data architect, business intelligence developer, data engineering developer, and then went up to the leadership role. So if you can see at the bottom, that's my academic background, and that's what I'm very proud of, and I'm very passionate about KSU or SPSU, and that's why when Dr. Lee reached out to me, I was very excited to attend this session. Okay, we will take the questions later on, right?
Correct.
Okay. So just wanted to show, usually in the data leadership role, you have to develop the data analytics strategy as well as the roadmap, and also what are the wins. So I'm showing at the top all the data platform build projects that was done at Aspen. And then underneath, I'm showing all the critical insights. I have highlighted some of them in orange, the critical ones that significantly contributed to the organization. So Office Report Card is one of them. This is one of the dashboard that was built to compare on critical KPIs or key performance indicator. I'm sure you have heard about those, that aligns with business goals and objectives and help the offices track their progress and compare against the high performing offices, and also show the low performing offices where they can quickly identify the opportunities and correct them. The other piece was the self-service BI. So in an organization, the business partners or the functional teams always want to have data in their at their disposal, and that's why we created the self-service BI, where the underlying data was structured to the need of the business, and they were able to use Tableau or Power BI or other BI tools to self-serve them on the business intelligence need. Machine learning, that's the next one I want to talk about, the revenue forecast prediction. This is the one that gave the Aspen a competitive edge, because we were able to forecast the revenue 2 months ahead. Initially, we were able to forecast 1 month ahead, but we were able to develop or improvise on the ML model that helped us to forecast 2 months ahead, which helped the office get enough time to self-correct if they see any indicator that was showing them the revenue will go down. The AI voice activated period charting, that's the one where we were recognized at the 2021 US Future Edge 50 Awards for Innovative and Business Solution. This is the one where the doctors did not have to type anymore. The software was able to recognize their voice. And the period charting is when you go to a dentist, they do use a period chart to measure the gap. And so the doctors could literally call out those gaps, and the period activity charting was entering those data points in the chart. The last one, and one of the most successful one, is the AI patient likelihood to show. In a medical line, there's always the appointment show rate is one of the key concern, because not every patient shows up. And what was happening is because of that, we had limited number of slots available per office per day. And because they were not showing up, our demand was high and our average days to appoint was high as well. So if I was calling Aspen today, it would take average 6 to 10 days to get an appointment. But with this patient likelihood to show, we were able to move the unconfirmed one to an overflow chair and open up the slot 2 days prior. We were able to predict it, and 2 days prior, we would move it so it would open up chairs or appointment slots that would be filled up by high need patients. And this AI model had an accuracy rate of 85%, which is pretty high for an industry stat measure. So that's another one we built. With one thing is, whenever you take an initiative, you want to see what is the business, you want to tie with the business outcome. So just by measuring it, we were able to see that there was 17.8% demand funnel improvement. The demand funnel is how many patients are coming in, or how many patients are calling for an appointment. So we were able to identify the gap through or identifying the campaign that helped us improve the demand funnel. The higher conversion rate is the one where a patient calls in and for an appointment, and if the patient schedules an appointment, that's the conversion rate. So we were able to identify effective templates and proper training to call center agents, and that helped us to improve the conversion rate. The show rate, 18% improvement, that's the AI model that we used. And 18% we were able to improve on the show rate because we were moving the unconfirmed patients to an overflow chair. Then on the patient SAT, this is another key APIs for a business, the patient SAT as well as net promoter score. So we were able to improve there also by implementing a better CRM, means client relationship management, for case management and reducing patient wait time as well. And the last one is a 12% improvement in patient's lifetime value by reducing treatment plan abandonment and improving patient routine checkup process. So treatment plan abandonment is when a patient comes in and the doctors diagnose and creates a treatment plan that may have like 5 or 6 visits required to complete the treatment plan. We had in the past, after like 1 or 2 visits, the patient may stop coming, and with keep providing critical insights, we were able to improve the patient's lifetime value. So now what I want to add is, this is like a blueprint for a data platform implementation. So if you notice, and you'll see that if you're in the data side and if you're working, you'll always see that this is like, there's slight variations, but it's a pretty standard. So what it is showing on the left-hand side is all the data sources. Any organization will have a clinical ERP system if it's in the healthcare, and then they will have an HR systems. Then they will have the call data as well as CRM. So on the left-hand side, it's showing all the data sources for a data team to identify and bring that to a data warehouse. And you have to bring it through some ETL tool, and that's what the integration layer is showing at the top. And usually the blue box is where the majority of the foundational work happens. So you bring the data in a raw form, and I'm sure you have heard about ODS, Operational Data Store. And then you have to cleanse the data, because in your source system, not every data is clean. So that's why you want to make sure for reporting purposes or for analytics purposes, the data is clean. And also, in order to feed back to your source systems or cleans the data in your source system. This is where you clean it and feed it back to your source system. And then the last two are for your reporting and dashboard, and also these feed your analytics. So usually whenever I have done in the past of building a data platform, or even in this organization also, the first work starts. It depends on the maturity of the organization. If the blue box is matured enough, then you step into the analytics box and build that analytics layer. If it is also it's mature, then you work on the data science box. So you are gradually you are enabling the organization from reporting standpoint, which is the blue box, and then you are enabling the organization from analytics standpoints, and finally, which is the latest trend, you're enabling the organization from a data science standpoint. So a data science team will leverage the tools over here, where analytics team will be leveraging the Azure Synapse, which is one of the latest tool that does big data analytics very easily. And then the other component here is the master data management, which is very key to an organization, because you want to have this master data to be consistent across all the systems, internal as well as external to the organization. And finally, there's a big trend on going into the cloud. There is always two distinction between the data. There's a structured data and there's an unstructured data. So whenever it's the ideal or the desire is always to have structured data, but not every data is structured, and to structure a data, it takes a lot of time. And that's why if it is not structured, you put those data in the lake called the data lake, and then with these now latest tools like Azure Synapse, you don't need to structure it. You can pull directly from your data lake and do analysis. So usually the data architecture reference model that in many organizations that they're following, although I built it from scratch for this organization, I'm sure Dr. Lee mentioned that I'm a hands-on leader. So that's one of the reasons I try to build this architecture framework for the organization to be future ready. So I would say there might be slight variation from organization to organization, or the cloud could be different cloud. It could be instead of Azure, AWS, or GCP. But usually this is how the data flow is supposed to be built, and the reference architecture is usually lies within this variation with slight variation. So with that being said, typical day at work, as a VP of data engineering, one of my key thing, and I very truly believe, people, process, and data. So my first and foremost focus is always on the people side. As Steve Jobs mentioned, we hire talents not to tell them what to do, but to tell us what to do. And that's why I spend a lot of times to hire the right talents. Even not only my direct reports, but I also underneath I have the data engineering, business intelligence, as well as data operations, and even team members being hired underneath those teams. I participate in hiring because I want to create a high performing team. Usually the team is structured in the data DevOps model, where the projects and KTLO are managed through that data DevOps model. So usually a data architect will be always there for a big team, and then his job is to do the data modeling, data dictionary, and also data cataloging. So the other one is the projects. So usually the business intelligence team and the data engineering team responsibility is to build data assets. And that's why they are part of the dev side. So there's a dev and operation side. Operation is more like KTLO, which means keep the lights on. So the business intelligence team and the data engineering team are more focused on developing the assets, where the operations team's responsibility is to keep the lights on. So meaning once the product is built, a data product is built, it is deployed into the production environment. And after that, it's the responsibility of the operation team to keep it up and running and respond to any kind of support. If it is of critical issues, then they may send it back to the dev team to work on it and enhance it. But if it is regular maintenance, then the operation team will take care of it. So other thing is with the KTLO, then comes the project progress. Every a year, there will always be data projects, and every organizations are getting very data savvy, and that's why I think in my last 10 years, I never had an issue with getting the budget for the data project, because companies wants to invest into the data side. And so it's always, there will be always every year lined up projects to be implemented. And it is one of my job to make sure the projects are running on time, within budget. So that's one thing. And the other one is the KTLO side, which is the service level agreement assurance. I want to make sure that the products which are already operational, they are running by the SLA. So for example, we had an SLA that all the reports will be ready by 7 o'clock in the morning, because the data warehouse refresh starts at 3 o'clock, and it usually takes for an enterprise-wide data refresh. In one of my organization, it used to take about 4 hours. So if it takes 4 hours, it's not going to be always 4 hours. Sometimes it will go beyond 4 hours, but our SLA is 7 o'clock. So that means I want to ensure that we are meeting the SLA. So I took a project to re-engineer the whole process and brought down the runtime from 4 hours to 2 hours. That gave the BI team enough time to resolve any unexpected scenarios and even meet the SLA on a daily basis. The other part is the vendor relationship management. So because data team is always on high demand and business wants the project yesterday to be completed, so we want to make sure that we have enough resources, and we at the same time, business may not approve the team size or the demand for data team is hard to meet with the full-time employees. So that's where I had a 60-40 rule, meaning 60% will be FTE or full-time employees, and then 40% consultant. And that way it also helped bringing in fresh new ideas through consultants who have been exposed to other critical projects. And that in a way, teaming up with my full-time employees, I was able to upskill them as well. So I always spend a good amount of time to make sure we have the right vendor and then maintain that relationship. And the other part is the business partner relationship. Data is a shared service. So it's, from a data perspective, we have to maintain relationship with marketing. We have to maintain relationship with finance, you name it, even legal. It's everywhere they need data. So I on my day-to-day basis, what I make sure is I have a regular touch point with different business partners to make sure their needs are being met. And the last piece is the innovation. The AI model that I've mentioned, patient likelihood to show, is an outcome of innovations. We are constantly thinking how we can apply or leverage data to improve our business. And I encourage my team members to come up with ideas, and we do POCs, proof of concept. And then if it returns expected results, then we go full scale on that. Many of you are going to graduate, and some of you are already in the workforce or looking for jobs. I was in your shoes a long time back, and that's why I want to share some of the key things that required on the technical side as well as on the soft skills. On the technical side, I recommend that spend enough time on the data analytics, data modeling, and data profiling. If you want to go into an architect role or a data engineering role, you will need the data modeling skills. Data analytics is must-have for anyone. It's not just the data team. Whoever I talk to, analytics should be your core strength, because you will be able to solve a lot of things if you have that analytics mindset, trying to understand why it happened, how it happened, and when it happened, because that will help you come up with a data-driven decision making. So regardless what role you are in, try to enhance your skill on the data analytics side. If you are going into data business intelligence, definitely SQL. If you are in a data engineering side, I would recommend learn Python and data orchestration tool. It could be ADF, which is Microsoft Azure Data Factory, or any orchestration tool. And then if business intelligence, if you're in business intelligence, then also use data visualize or develop your skills in data visualization. That could be Power BI, Tableau, you name it. There's a lot of similarity between Power BI and Tableau. So if you try to enhance your skill, learn one tool, you'll be able to quickly pick up the other one. The other skill I would talk about is the performance tuning. That's must have, because while you are developing these reports, visualization, or even building the data pipeline, your query should run optimum. And that's why you need to know how to optimize the performance. It could be through table partitioning, it could be through table indexing, you name it. And the technology is advancing at a very, very fast pace. And that's why no matter what you learn today, it will be obsolete in few days. That's why Google is your best friend. I would always recommend that you will run into this issues that your manager may come and ask you to implement something that you may not be aware of. I would always recommend that search in the Google. And the other thing is carve out some time to learn online through Udemy or some other online learning tool. But at the same time, YouTube is available, because you can always get some general idea from searching in the YouTube and getting a general idea of what that product is about or what that technology is about. So soft skill side, communication is very, very important, and networking skills. If you know anyone in any organization, try to network with them, because they may be able to provide you some insights on the hiring side. Plus, also, if you come through your network, there is highly likely that you will get some edge on the hiring process. And as I said, online learning, so invest your personal time, and also the growth mindset. I mean, I have seen in the past as well as in present, there's always a difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Do not think of a challenge as a challenge, but it is more, think it like it can be done. I always say that anything is possible as long as you have the time and the budget to implement. Because because every solution has every problem has a solution. It's just that what is the appetite to solve it. So that's another thing I would always say. And if you have that growth mindset, I can tell you sky is the limit, because it will always excite you to solve critical problems, and that will take you further along. So with that said, I would like to open the floor for any questions.
Students, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand with the reaction, the hand raised reaction, and come on camera if you are comfortable and able to do so, or you can post your question in the chat. Maria. Maria,
Yeah, Maria, you have a lot of noise.
we can't, we could not hear you, Maria. Maybe if you could post your question in the chat. Okay, we have Raj has a question. What kind of attitude do you look for in candidates who want to join your team? Thank you, Raj.
That's a great question. It's can-do attitude. That's what I look for. I don't expect an individual to know everything, but I look for that will he or she invest time to learn it and go above and beyond to accomplish the task that has been assigned to the individual.
Great, thank you. And let's see, next, what do you think about graduate degrees versus certification as a career leveraging tool?
I would always prefer graduate degrees. The reason is, in my job descriptions that I put out, I always mention undergraduate degree must have, and if possible, master's degree. The reason is, when you're going to school, you learn the discipline. It's not just getting a grade. It's you're learning the discipline of working in projects with teams and other challenges you are overcoming. So you are getting through a training phase, getting ready for the corporate culture, which you may not get in a certification. Of course, if an individual does not have a graduate degree, a certification helps. But I have seen talented resources able to be successful at work who are coming from graduate degrees.
Great. And Amy would like to know, what is your favorite part of the job?
Solving problems. And I think in this role, or even from leaders, any leadership role, from manager and above, all the challenges lands on your table, and I enjoy that because that's one of the reasons I started as a consultant, because you get the opportunity to get exposed to different company culture and different organization challenges, and you provide solution. When I changed from consulting to full time, that was one of the concern I had, that once I join as a full time to an organization, that means it's going to be like more managing the status quo. But that was totally my wrong perception when I joined Aspen. I think it's one key thing is, if you join a very aggressive growth organizations, you will be always busy with projects that are challenging to for the businesses, and it's no different at my eye doctor either. So yes, I love the best part at work is the challenges that are being presented to me to solve.
Okay, Maria typed in her question. She said she'd like to thank you for the good presentation. She's impressed with the excellent statistics improving business process. She would like to ask if you can elaborate about the reduction of waiting time in healthcare in general, and how was this accomplished? Thank you.
Sure. So what we did is a lot of times what we have seen is that when a patient comes in, they are given the form to fill up, and that could be like you are writing the same thing. There could be like there will be more than one form, and you are entering the same information over and over again. So I worked with, so what we did is like we captured the data points. The patient checked in, and then the patient waited or sit in. There's a checked in means the patient has arrived, and the patient waiting or sit in means the patient has been admitted to the chair. So we measured those time, and we looked at what is the key reason that was for the delay, and we found out that it is the form, because it was taking a lot of times to fill up the form, and that's why even though patient came, and I'm sure you have seen in a lot of healthcare or a lot of appointments where you'll be reminded to come 15 minutes early so that you have time to fill up. So what we did is to improve the patient experience and also cut down the time, work with the digital application team, and this is where we shared the data points of the average wait time. And we build electronic forms that was mailed to them or emailed to them day prior, so that they can enter all the information. And once they entered it, when they come to the office, things are already entered. That cut down the human error as well as improved or reduced the patient wait time. They were already checked in and then seated in the chair within a short period of time.
That's great. Okay, next is, are there any specific projects and languages that you look for on a resume other than data analytics, modeling, visualization, and Python?
Project is for me to understand what length of challenges an individual has been exposed to. What I look for is from skill standpoint, the individual, if they have a SQL, must have, and then it depends whether they are on the business intelligence side. Then it will be more on the data visualization tool, like understand more about their Power BI skills or Tableau skills, and it could be any other BI tool. But my interview, usually what I do is I ask them situational questions, and ask them to walk me through a situation where how they implemented or what are the challenges they faced and how did they overcome with that. If it's a database administration, then definitely their expertise or experience in database administration. If it's a data analyst, then more about looking or understanding what kind of insights they have shared or discovered. So it varies depending on the role, but in the common skill that I look for all my team members is the analytical skill, and then specific to their knee role, they I look at other like ETL. One thing I want to mention, the data engineering. I look for either one kind of ETL tool experience like Microsoft SSIS or Microsoft ADF, and there are many other tools. But I look for some tool usage experience.
Okay, and Timothy wants to know if you could elaborate, please, on the data analytics mindset.
It starts with why. So looking at the data, the first question you should find, or for the first thing you should look for is looking at the trend, and without using any tool. I should say always use it, grow that habit. Looking at the data in a raw form, can you identify the trend? That improves your, it's like using a calculator versus using your mental power to calculate. Definitely you need calculator for complex calculation, but if you grow that habit, then it will always help you to grow your analytical skill set. The key thing is why this thing is happening, and then the next thing is whatever your findings are, you need to ensure that is a true finding, right? You need to test it out through different stress testing and confirm that your findings are accurate.
Okay, anything you would change or wish you knew sooner as it relates to career growth?
That's a, I think the analytics part is the one that I came to learn in the job. Initially, when I was a BI developer, my first approach was building cool KPIs or chart or dashboard. But then I learned it's not about the cool KPI or charts. It's about actionable insights or moving the needle. So I can have a nice chart, but if it does not relate to improving the business outcome, then it's worthless. And that's why I wish I knew, but that was like I would say 15 years ago. I think because I was in consulting, I was able to, because I'm changing from one or like or moving from one projects to another. I think I was able to quickly learn that the analytics is more about what can it do to improve or cut down the cost, to improve performance or cut down the cost.
Okay, another question from Raj. Do you see lack of domain knowledge as a challenge in data-related jobs in terms of doing daily tasks up to your potential, or how to bridge that gap?
I wouldn't. You will quickly learn data is agnostic. I have been in healthcare a big portion of my time, but I have been in other domain as well. At the end of the day, data is 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So whether you are in healthcare domain or whether you are in academia domain, the numbers will always follow the same principle. So yes, that's one of the job to learn the data definitions or business knowledge the moment you join an organization. But as long as you have the analytical mindset, you will quickly be able to accomplish that.
All right, another question from Abby. Excellent presentation. You mentioned investing your personal time. What type of activities would you suggest as good ways to invest that time? Activities such as working on certificates or continuing education. What are your thoughts on that? And thank you in advance.
I would say certificate is just measuring you against others. Uh, I would say more investing on POCs. When I started my career, I went through bootcamp training, and even though it was 8 to 5, I used to go early, like at around 7 o'clock, and stay till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So the bootcamp training was within that allocated time, but I invested more time to learn because it's the knowledge has benefit long term. Number one, and number two is when you build the POC. So even if you're assigned to a project, ask yourself how you can improve that, or whatever you have developed, can it be further improvised? And that's the personal time you can invest. Stay longer in the organization, or bring it home and try to see if you can improvise it further. I'll give an example. Recently, and I'm still hands-on, as I mentioned. Recently, my team came to me and they asked to help. They reached out for a help on one of a complex query. I joined this organization, it's a fairly small team. So as I'm building a team, I'm also sometimes guiding them on technical aspects. And they gave me a query that I worked on the weekend and gave it to them. I did ask them to test the performance. And even before handing it out to them, I saw that I can alter the steps and gain more performance. So the query runtime, it's a very complex query. It runs for 34 seconds, and I was not happy with it. So while they are testing, I spent time again on my own on the weekends and came up with an alternative query. So by Monday, when they shared the results that it's 34 seconds, I handed to them the new version, and it runs for 15 seconds. So my key thing is spend a lot of times on POCs that may or may not be needed for the organization, but it will definitely help you in the long run.
So what I'm hearing in that is go the extra mile.
Yes, above and beyond. And sometimes I'll tell you, it may not be noticeable, and you are not doing it for recognition. You are investing on your own, and I can tell you, eventually it will benefit you, and you'll be recognized.
Okay, Marcella has a question. I think that you've touched on this in several different other answers that you've given, but just in case you haven't, in your opinion, how important is it to have certifications from Microsoft or AWS in a newly graduated candidate resume?
If I have candidate who has a certificate versus who has work experience, I will weigh in more on the work experience. But certificate is good if you don't have a work experience, because that gives you exposure to the tool. Remember, certification is they're testing some aspects of it, but when you are at work, you are being tested on unexpected situations and surprises. Software development lifecycle, I always tell my team, and I'm telling it here, SDLC is nothing but full of surprises. Even if you think the query will run or the pipeline will produce data on a daily basis, there will be an exceptions, and you should always think ahead and try to factor that into your code. So yes, I would recommend, if you don't have any experience, go for the certification, because that will give you an edge. But if you have already are into the workforce, spend more time to work on challenging projects. And sometimes what the leaders look for or appreciates, that if you are forthcoming and volunteer yourself to challenging projects, because that shows your interest.
Okay, and if some of these students would like to connect as they near graduation and are looking for jobs, can they connect with you on LinkedIn? Can I share with them your email? What would your preference be for that?
I would say I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I think I see some names here who I connected already or talked to. So yes, you are most welcome to connect to me through LinkedIn, and any kind of suggestions you need. I'm always looking for candidates. I did post quite a good number of positions, data engineering, data analyst, then business intelligence, metric engineer, or BI engineer, metric engineer. So I have different roles. Look under My Eye Doctor, and if you're interested, please do apply.
Okay, and then looks like we got another one from Abby. Any advice on going from a contributing role in an organization to a leadership role, or how to bridge that gap?
So mine started, I'll give you an example. When I started as a BI developer, and then an architect, and then there was a position open for a director role. So I went to the CIO, because reports to the director reports to the CIO. At that time, I was lead BI architect, and I said I want to. I know that's a big jump. So if you are open to that, then I would like to be as a manager for 1 year, and then if I prove myself, then we can talk after 1 year. So definitely, we went to the interview and interview panel, and there were different kinds of questions. So from contributor role to leadership role, it's a complete change of mindset. When you are a contributor, there's a lot of things are within your control. As you are working on projects, you are managing your time, you're managing your work. But the moment you are in the leadership role, you are managing a team, and the teams to guide them in the right direction, as well as not just the work, building the relationship with the team members, understanding their weaknesses, understanding their challenges, understanding their strength. And every team members, I've seen it, every team members are precious to a team. And as a leader, you have to know their strength and weakness. If somebody
Bill, it appears that he's frozen, at least on my end.
Yeah, it seems like Mr. Raymond may have some connection problems.
He's out in Arizona, I know, so who knows what's going on out there.
Yeah, let's just wait a few minutes if he can log back in. But we have very lovely discussions. Yeah, probably he's leaving and rejoin.
Yeah, so give it a few minutes. Yes, this has been a great conversation, and he offers a lot of
Yeah,
great advice to students. And
student, feel free to unmute yourself and talk. This part of just do not just type in your question, right? This is the communication.
Like he's dialing in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Sorry, I got some network issues.
Not a problem. I think you were wrapping up the transitioning from an organization, a contributing role in the organization to a leadership role.
Yeah, as I was talking, I don't know how far you have heard. The key thing is to understand each individual's strength and weakness. And as a leader, it is our job to help the team and recalibrate them, assign them to the right role. I had a data engineer who loved data visualization, but when he was hired, I think there was a opening in the data engineering, so he joined there. But after some time, as I was evaluating all my team members and talking to them one-on-one, I asked them what is their passion, and asked him what is his passion. And when he opened up, I gradually reassigned him to the BI side. And the other thing I do is like cross-train the team members because that's very important. That excites the individual, keep them engaged as well. So what I mean by that is underneath me, I have BI engineer, database administration team, as well as data engineering team and data operation team. So a BI engineer, although his primary responsibility is a visualization, but every now and then I encourage the team to take some work from data engineering and work on that. Similarly, data engineers, their primary role is to build the data pipelines, but every now and then they are encouraged to do some visualization work. So that way, I'm also upskilling them and making them ready for future growth.
That's excellent. Well, I think we have taken up our entire hour. Dr. Lee, do you have anything else to contribute?
Yes, Alison. Trevor, may I ask you a question about when you're working in the data, the security and data privacy is a big part of that, especially in the healthcare field. So can you share your insight in that regard?
Sure, and that is because it's in healthcare, we have to be HIPAA compliant. And you are right, when we are building these data platform, we try to secure it, work with the security team, the data. So many, if it's a small organization, it may be you have to be jack of all trades, or the data team has to implement everything. But if it's a big team, there's a security team who we work with. So in this case, it's no different. My eye doctor and Aspen, they were heavy into security. So we will get the guidance or the framework on what are the key things we should do. So for example, in HIPAA, there are about, I believe there are like 22 key data points that needs to be secured, like patient name, address, phone number, email address, and other key points. So we scan our data sets and make sure the SSN is another one, patient ID is another one. So we scan our systems and identify where these data points lie or exist right now. If it is that I join in the middle of a data platform build, or the platform is already built, then the scanning to ensure that none of these data points are exposed to end user. So we keep it in a very tightly secured table and use external IDs to connect to them. So for very limited use cases and authorized users have exposure or have visibility to these data points. If it is, we are building a brand new data platform, then we already factor that into our project. And the first thing is the security, to make sure that the data sets, the data warehouse is nothing but enabling the analytical capabilities and also building the foundation for future AI ML. So we want to make sure at the aggregate level, the data can show some insight, but at the individual level, at a patient level, the data is should not be exposed to any kind of analytics. So security is a key component with cloud. You will hear a lot about IAM, Identity Access Management. So we use that service to control the access to data points through IAM.
Thank you.
Well, I think that wraps up our students. We will be sharing this recording with you. I'm not entirely sure where we will be saving it at this point, but we will certainly share the video with you. And I did post the LinkedIn link for Mr. Rahmn if you would like to connect with him that way. And Dr. Lee, do you have anything else to say to wrap up?
Yes, I think we have perfect timing. This is very lively and active discussion. And also, I also would like to special thanks to Allison and also Don for helping me organizing these events. Without your help, this won't be happening. Special thanks to Mr. Raven for taking time off your busy schedule, share your wisdom and your experience with our student. This means a lot to KSU, to our student. And also thanks for student for attending this session. I hope you all learned something from this evening's session. And if you have additional questions, feel free to get connected with Mr. Raven on LinkedIn or send email to me. We'll be happy to help you to develop your career in data analytics. And for tonight's recording, it will be available in the chat, but it won't last forever there, but I plan to put it on our YouTube channel. So you will get an update from me and when it is available in our YouTube channel. With that said, any last questions? All right. So thank you, everyone. Good night.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
Good night.